that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It's
Gets
gross.
the people going.
Well, Hector, here's the game plan. You're gonna bring us 2 absolute martinis. You know how I like them, straight up. And then precisely 7½ minutes after that, you're gonna bring us 2 more. Then 2 more after that every 5 minutes until one of us passes the fuck out.
You got a bad attitude and you don't listen.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.
It is not the violence that sets a man apart. All right, it is the distance that he is prepared to go.
Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while that you shouldn't have fucked with? That's me.
What the fuck else would you do this job? Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
Welcome to the Max Ordinate podcast. What's up, Max Ordinate Nation? Here we are, myself, Jeph, in his purple People Eater shirt. I've got Fred from Bison Tactical, my partner for the past 4 years now, I think. Maybe more. Is this our 5th year? I think this is our 5th year.
I don't remember.
The question has been posed, right? Because I have put it out into the world that we're going to fucking win this year. Even though we said we were going to win last year, we're going to win. And then I'm fucking done. And then like 2 minutes later,
they put it out in the world more than you have the last year.
2 minutes later, really they look at me.
There, you two have to win.
Yeah. So
we just have to run.
Right after I say that, they look at me and they're like, "Are you done though?" I'm like, I don't know. Fred, if we win, will you still do this?
Probably not. I'd be happy to take a break.
So I'm going to throw this up really quick. Well, I mean, we are going to talk about the Sniper Adventure Challenge, and it's coming up. It's in November this year instead of the normal September timeframe. And it's not even in the same region as it has been in the past. Now it's in Arizona. Like I feel like there's a whole lot changing. And we're still trying to walk away with that win. But now all the changes that are taking place, I don't know. I'm curious to see what kind of interesting things we come across that aren't really happening in Wyoming, but they are happening in Arizona.
So what are the differences? So we've got weather, elevation, terrain. What's going to be different about the time of year and the location versus where it's been in Wyoming?
Could be drier. The elevation's about the same, I think. I don't think it's a big difference in elevation.
It's not. It's right around the same elevation. I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000 feet. But you know, every 3 years they move this competition. So it was in one area in Wyoming, and then it moved to another area, and then it was in a different area. Like it's traditionally, you know, for the past probably decade, it's been in Wyoming. I do remember the first time I did it, it was in New Mexico. You know, but the challenges with New Mexico, from what I can remember, is there was like zero water. You had barren desert and mountains, and you know, so when you think about having to be able to resupply your own water, that's one of the first thing that comes up to me now is because I think last year we had such a focus on like, we got to stay hydrated, and you know, like that becomes a struggle, Jeph, you know.
Oh, I bet.
So for anybody that doesn't know what the Sniper Adventure Challenge is, last year it was 48 hours of intense hiking with everything that you'll need. You do get a cache bag that you can store stuff in, but it's placed out in the course, so you have to go get it every time you want it. And then it's land navigation with map and compass, no electronic means to find yourself. there's shooting, there's problem solving, there's puzzles, there's math, right? We did some fucking MIT math papers, which
That was annoying. That was horrible.
it was
Identifying
horrible.
airplanes.
It was horrible because I couldn't
That was
solve
tough,
the
too.
first part of the equation. I mean, you know, the airplanes, that was a little tough, you know. I knew a lot of airplanes. I just matched them with the wrong pictures. But yeah, so they'll throw some shit at you like that. I think, you know, depending on how far you make it, you could end up traveling 60 miles, 50 miles, you know, it just depends. So that's in a nutshell what it is. There are no water resupplies. There is nobody to help you. It is just you and your partner bitching about whatever, or, you know, I think, man, I probably had some bitches. One of them was like, fuck, you know, the tape on my feet are not working this year. Like the ground is hot. I'm getting blisters or, you know, something. Then on top of that, you know, Fred brought some music, but it wasn't.
I don't know. It was random. It was like a random mix, I think is what it was.
It wasn't anything I've ever heard before. So he'd turn it on and we're like walking. He's like, is this helping? I'm like, no. So
you got to send me a playlist or something. Like if you like, it's a MP3 player, right? Just like some sort of small thing that we can bring along.
Yeah,
it's got a speaker built in. You can't bring an iPhone or an iPad, you know, iPod or anything like that. So
I feel like every year we've kind of learned from what we did the previous year, and I not only wanted to learn from last year and take all of the lessons we've learned from previous years, but I wanted to revisit it as we get closer so that we're thinking about these things and we have time to plan and prepare for them. So, you know, I remember there was one year where like I was reading that book you told me, Taking Care of Your Feet, and you know,
fixing your feet.
I ended up changing shoes halfway through, and it was a mistake. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
I changed to a completely different brand of shoes. My feet were so swollen, dude. It was horrible. And then, you know, the next year I learned from it, so I got identical shoes. So when I need to switch, they're identical in every way. Maybe a different color.
The other thing I do similar is I make sure when I'm training I swap shoes around so I don't have a fresh new set and one that's broken in, but I try to rotate them while I'm training so I can balance out the wear on them.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've learned things. I think last year was probably the year that we thought we had a pretty good handle on the scoring and how we could, you know, focus on how you get points and how we can win, right? Because you've got the physical side of it where it's just put your fucking head down and go find land nav points. There's some skill involved, doing the challenges, you know. Two things. One, you know, the scoring, it's still, I have the score sheet pulled up, but it's still kind of, it's odd to me because
it's an algorithm.
Yeah, I'm seeing things here that is like, this doesn't make sense. Something here not jiving with me. And then, you know, the other thing that kind of bit us in the ass last year, and you know, the scores, it only tells us what our cumulative scores on the challenge was. It doesn't tell us what each individual challenge was.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we thought we were smart. And you know, I think we're at like hour number 30, maybe 36. We got 12 hours to go. It's nighttime. And we're like, yo, let's ditch as much shit as we can so we can be light. Because dude, I had some moments, Jeph, where I was seeing some things that weren't there. And, you know, I'm just like, Fred, you got to do it, man. I'll follow you because
I'll follow you up the mountain.
Mentally, I am cracked right now. So
you're a bit dehydrated, I think.
Dude. So we dropped a bunch of gear, which included all the ammo we weren't required to have on our body. And so we roll up to this area and they've got it closed off. And we're like, hey, we need to get in here. And they're like, we got to go around. And we're like, why? Why would we go around? They're like, oh, they're shooting over here. And we're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean they're shooting right now? So we find out there's like another 6 or 7 shooting stations happening on the remainder of the competition. And we have no ammo to execute these stages.
Yeah.
So we just kind of like walk by it. Like,
and we knew we needed points too.
Yeah,
Like,
and we needed points. We knew we needed points, and there was not a damn thing we could do about it because the shooting location was, I don't know, probably trying to think of kilometers right now, maybe like 10 kilometers from where our cash bag was staged. So you're talking like a 20-kilometer movement just to go get our shit and come back. It just wouldn't work, right? So we made some mistakes, and I'm going to throw this up on the screen right now so we can look at this score sheet. Here we go. Can you guys see it?
Got it.
Okay.
Right.
So it's got, first, second, third, all the way down. I thought there was more competitors in this last year, but I think the 48 hours is maybe scared people off. Maybe that's why they went back to a 36-hour format for this year. But you can see
there were more last year too. That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. So you can see that you've got a column that says challenges, sum of all challenges through C22. And then it goes down the list, right? And then, that's your total challenge point score. Now we only had 1290, and I blame some of that on our inability to shoot the remaining 12 hours, right? And then you've got C22. That was a challenge, but I can't remember what it was or why we only got 50 points for it. So
was that the intelligence one? Where you had to draw a map and write a description of the area?
It may have been, yeah. It may have been.
Because I think you had to submit that, and they scored it separately because they had to. They went through it. They had to read every one of them.
Okay.
That might have been C22, but I don't remember for sure.
And then, you go to that next column and you got norm 100. I don't even know what that means. And then mission M1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are your missions that are your land nav points. So I don't remember doing 21 or 20 or 24 land nav stakes per mission. That seems pretty excessive. Are we getting basically, and this is where my mind went, how if you complete a mission,
there's bonus,
yeah, you complete a mission, you get 10 extra bonus points, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's baked in there. Yeah.
So what it looks like is for mission 1, we had 11 land nav points plus the 10 bonus for the completion.
Yeah.
So what you do is you take your mission total, which we had 84, and you multiply by your challenges, and then everything gets squared or some weird funky math. So the challenges obviously hurt us, right? And what helped Murphy and Daniel is their challenge, right? They went into it knowing that they were going to just crush it on the challenges.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if they just realized at some point that they couldn't finish all the land nav in time, and then decided to do challenges, or if they planned it from the get-go. I think I talked to them about it, but I don't remember what they said.
Yeah. I mean, but you can look at their score on mission 4. They're a single digit number. So they did not complete that mission. They didn't get the 10 extra bonus points, right?
Yeah.
And, they finished with 10 less mission points than we did. But they still beat us by, 8,000 points because of their challenge scores. And we've always known that there's a relationship between finding land nav points and getting your challenges done with the highest amount of points that you can get, right?
Yeah.
Even Mike Wax and Dave Castro beat us in the challenge points. It's just
yeah. Well, I mean, it's all time management, right? So if you allocate more time towards the challenges, then you have less time to finish the missions. So it's kind of like balancing that, is the difficult part, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. Some of the things we just didn't score well on too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
when we spent the time on shooting a pistol and I like couldn't hit anything with that like P365 that I brought or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I'm switching to a full-size pistol this year. I'm bringing my normal Walter. I should be able to hit stuff with that. And the new rules this year, red dots.
Oh yeah, I saw the new rules, the red dots, and I'll probably bring mine. I want to see where I'm at on weight, and
I'm definitely running a red dot on mine.
It wasn't bad. I would say that as far as training goes, right? I'm not in the US right now, so my ability to shoot and train is kind of restricted to when we can go to the range, pull out fucking guns from the armory, get ammo delivered. Like, it's a whole ordeal. It is not an easy task. You got to get approval from range control and all these other entities that basically control your ability to go train like that, right? So all of my training has been focused on fitness, strength, endurance, and dieting. Like, dieting has been implemented now so that I'm getting my weight down to that race weight. And, me and Jeph, we did an episode about this, back in March, talking about Sniper Adventure Challenge or something
probably March or April.
How we're going to prepare for this year. And, Chris Way had chimed in and asked, are we doing anything else? And we're in a unique situation where I am 9,000 miles away from you and we can't train together. We can't do land nav together. We can't do anything. But the weird part is it's been like this
the whole time,
the entire time, and we've made it work. So we have our own independent methods that we do. And then when we come together, we just have this roundabout way of like, we're going to do land nav, we're going to make decisions, but we're going to kind of have this game plan of where we need to focus. And, that's been it.
If I remember, we talked in March about this. Did you guys talk about mathematically looking at what the math looks like on where to put the focus on, like, what points mathematically make more sense? Have you guys done that? Because it always seems that it's never the fitness. Well, not never. It doesn't seem, it hasn't been historically the fitness, the shooting, the challenges. It's always been the scoring that is just, you guys have fought it. So has there been like a revelation of look at the numbers and go, wait a minute, this is sort of where we're going wrong. Let's just mathematically, this is what we need to do. Like it says this is what we should do.
Yeah. Last year we, I have a friend of mine, a guy who used to work for me. His name's Tyler, another Tyler. He's an engineer. So I figured the best person to talk to about the scoring method that Zach came up with is some other engineer, mechanical engineer. Because it's definitely the way he came up with that scoring methodology is sort of an engineer's mind bent on how to do it. And so we had a plan going into last year. We actually created, my thought without being an engineer was, hey, there's probably some, you're balancing two different types of things, right? These mission points and you're balancing challenge points. And you need to keep some balance. So if balance is your, say, 0, if you're sort of dropping out of proportion, you're going below 0, or you're going above 0, you're getting out of this optimal balance. And so I was looking for a way to try to say, hey, at any given time in the race, we know how many mission points we've done, and we know how many challenge points we've done. Can we sort of get a quick way of calculating, are we within the optimal balance or not? So last year we were trying to do that, but it didn't really work out. There's too many variables that you get thrown that make it hard to kind of adjust on the fly and kind of determine, are we within kind of a good balance point or not?
So I do remember that.
Because I know it's going to come down at some point, like they're just two multipliers, right? So which one holds more weight? And at some point, you guys got to be sitting there thinking, okay, I can go get this mission or this waypoint, or I can go shoot that challenge. Which one holds more weight based on where
Yeah,
we're at?
but it's not quite that simple, right? It would be easier if it was that simple. But the problem becomes like, okay, you're starting out in day one, and it's whatever, say it's 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And right now at 9 o'clock in the morning, you can do land nav because your mission, you've gotten given a mission, and your mission that you currently have has 10 mandatory points and say 10 bonus checkpoints. So now you have 20 potential mission points that you could get. So you could spend time getting those, but during that same time frame that you could get those 20 mission points, only for the first 4 hours are challenges 1 through 7 open. So, and after some time point, they close. You can't go back to them. They're no longer available. So you have a limited time frame to determine we can get some of those points, those mission points. We have to go over there, and some of those might be near where some of the challenges are. So we could pick up those challenges, or we could, do more land nav and then come back and then pick up the challenges later. And so you're constantly balancing kind of where you are in the geography, what the time frames are that challenges are open and available, and then balancing, kind of trying to, fit them in a way that makes the most sense, with achieving everything you can within limited time.
And there's no way to game it, because you don't get the map or anything until day one.
You get the map the night before, right?
The night before.
Yeah. So you get the map when you check in.
But it's not like you get like days and days to like figure out a game plan. You've got that night.
And you don't get the mission points either. So you they've changed it up over the years, so it changes. But last year, for example, you got mission 1, but you didn't know what mission 2 had on it. So you're like, you only know I've got these amount of points, and there's challenges, ahead of time, the challenges are open in these time frames. So you have blocks of time that the challenges are available, but you don't know what the other missions will hold. So you could try to get some of the land nav points. So for example, in mission 1, when we were going out to do land nav, we didn't go for, I don't think we went for any bonus points, right? We just said, hey, let's just get the mandatory ones, get through mission 1. We knew, because we were starting at the end of the day, because it was a 48-hour race last year. And we knew we were going up on the top of a mountain, and we wanted to be off the mountain when dark hit, if we could, because it was harder to nav up there on that mountaintop. So we, the game plan was, okay, let's blow through as many of these mandatory checkpoints as we can, so we're not hitting bonus checkpoints up there where it's hard to land nav, and then get down into the plains where it's easier and we can kind of move.
That was 2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago? That wasn't last year?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And Jeph, let me tell you, dude, that plan that he's talking about, it's a good thing we stuck to that. That was the year that my legs just got thrashed from wearing shorts.
I remember.
But what happened was, we were just, fuck the bonus points. We got to race through this and get them as fast as possible. We need to be off this mountain. And what ended up happening is everybody except for 3 teams, us and 2 others, they got stuck up there all fucking night trying to find 2 land nav points.
Yeah.
And that terrain that we're talking about was so fucking horrible that you're better off waiting until daylight.
That's scrub oak.
Walking in circles. So yeah, that was definitely 2 years ago, but you can't game it. And at the same time, like, just looking at the scores, you can see that, team 1 only had 1,600 and something challenge points.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 90 land nav points. Team 2 almost beat them by 150 challenge points, but didn't have the land nav points to give them that number, right? So, I mean,
but land nav's always held more weight, right? Like, there was one year that wasn't, it was 2 years ago, that 3 years ago, they didn't even, the winning team didn't even take a shot on anything. They just got 1 million land nav points, right?
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like when I did with Scotty, so like 7 years ago.
I think he's talking about
7 years ago.
I think he's talking about Mike Wax and all the first
Oh,
year
okay.
they won it,
They didn't shoot any,
and they just peace
all.
out. We're not sticking around to shoot. We're gonna go and get shit done. And we ended up taking second that year to them.
Yeah.
So I think they've every year they try to rearrange things so that certain things hold, you know, more weight. And you know, every challenge is equal to the same thing. You get 100 points or a version of it, right? Depending on how well you do. But now, you know, look what happened to us. We did not hit the shooting stages, right? And because there was so many shooting stages and we missed half of them, it hurt us. It hurt us big, right? So I don't think you could just skip shooting stages like that anymore. I think the year that they did it, there was only 4 shooting stages. So you're talking like, you know, 400 points, and the average team was scoring like a 20 or a 30 out of 100, right? They're not getting that many hits. Whereas now, if you have 12 stages that are shooting, you can't really afford to skip all of those, you know? So they try to change it up on you. And yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Like, what was last year? We didn't have the deadlines, did we? That was the year before, where they actually said the mission will end if you have like some amount of hours to complete the mission. No, that was last year, wasn't it? That was last year.
Last year they implemented the deadlines where you had to complete a mission by a certain time,
or you didn't get the bonus points.
And it added a whole new fucking twist to everything, because, you know, before you could spend your time out there and like, oh, we're going to hit this and we're going to get this bonus checkpoint. But now you're thinking like, we have 12 hours to get through the mission, hit these challenges. Like, that added time frame.
Yeah.
Because
it was a little bit stressful. Yeah.
Yeah. If you meet that timeline, Jeph, you get 10 additional land nav points for free. It's a bonus.
Yeah.
If you don't meet that timeline, you don't. And it's like, it's so valuable.
When do you know how the scoring is going to be?
When you check in.
So it's just the night before you check in, you get your map, and you'll know how the scoring is.
Yeah, it'll give you a document, and it's got the scoring laid out in it. And it's not until the brief on the morning that we get the challenge information. So they'll tell us like these challenges are open, these time frames, and C1 through 6 is whatever, 8 to 12. But you get the scoring sheets where they tell you the scoring's the same as it's been for the previous years at check-in.
Yeah. So it basically turns into like, let's check in, let's grab our shit, let's look at the map, let's plot the area of operations on the map, and let's go sit down and figure out how the fuck we're going to do this and what's our strategy going to be. And then it's just trying to hold each other to that strategy as different things get thrown at you that you weren't expecting, or, whatever it is. So yeah, it's an interesting time for sure. Let me see here.
So when last year we did we both plotted points for some of the early missions. You think that's a good idea? You think we should do the same thing again? Run 2 maps, plot both points independently, and compare if we have a problem?
I don't know if in the beginning it helped us at all, and we really only utilized 1 map the entire time. We kind of stuck with that hybrid that has the topo and the satellite imagery.
I think we had one time where we had a problem, and we compared them, and we found that we had a marked, the point was wrong or something. It was marked wrong on one of them and not on the other.
I think,
but I don't think it happened once.
I think that was later in the competition where we found a mistake. And I remember that specific time. I was telling Jeph when we did our after action fucking episode where I forget where you went. You went to go get water or whatever. You were doing something, and I'm sitting at the picnic table trying to plot points, and I'm plotting everything fucking backwards.
and you're fucking falling asleep.
Yeah, you were definitely out of it. And I started plotting all the points, and then I think you just sat down and started drinking lots of water, and you put away like a whole bladder of water, and then you sort of perk back up, and then you're like, okay, I can plot stuff now. So yeah, that was kind of interesting.
48 hours is brutal, man. Do you think we could make it 60?
60 hours? 60 hours? Not with the method we were doing before. We'd have to sleep. We'd have to take some breaks and do some short sleep cycles, I think.
Yeah.
60 hours. That's a long time.
That is.
That's on the cusp of insanity, isn't it? That's like when your pupils refuse to dilate at all and you're just like cracked out and that's it, right?
I'm just so worried.
I still think there's something to be said about running. I would still love to see a 48 and a 24 run side by side and get some more people in there that are willing to do a 24 like me, not necessarily wanting to do a 48. I think breaking that up into two different challenges would be awesome.
They used to do something like that. They would have the adventure class and the sprint class. And the sprint class had a reduced amount of time, reduced amount of missions, actually, I think they ran the same missions, but they just had, a less time to complete it, where their scoring just stopped. I thought it was a good idea too. I think it's either a manpower thing or something like that. But, I think you could do it that way. You could have your 48 hour, right? Your extreme. And then you could have your 24, and you could probably even do a 12 for people who just aren't looking for anywhere near extreme, but still want to try something like this. And instead of starting them all at the same time, you would stagger them so that they would start later and everybody would finish at the same time. I think it could work that way. People aren't waiting around for the other groups to finish and stuff like that. But it's not my competition, so.
I mean, I felt after the 48 hours, I felt I was pretty solid until we did the somersault stuff, and that just wiped me out. But like, I felt like I could have gone longer than the 48 hours, but if I'd have had to go through another night, that might have been too much. Like, I don't know if I could have gone through the day more, I think. But another nighttime in sequence, I don't know. It would have been tough to see how we would have done at night.
That's true, because if we would have pushed another 12, it'd have pushed us through the night.
Yeah.
That would have
been. This year goes down to 36 in October.
Yeah. Or it's actually, I think it's somewhere around 32 or something, depending on what time they start, what time they finish. Okay. But somewhere in that ballpark.
So, everybody gets the same advantage of shorter time. Is this going to hurt you guys or help you guys?
Yet to be seen, but it definitely takes some consideration to think about how you need to do this. I mean, last year there was 4 missions and they were rather long. The year before there was 5 missions and less time to complete it, so, a lot of it comes down to how fast you can move, how many breaks you're taking, and, are you going the right direction, or are you, going the most efficient way? And that's a balance all in itself. Like, yeah, we could go straight up and over this mountain and get to the other side, but how much energy are we burning to get there versus we take an extra, 20 minutes and we go around that obstacle? It's going to cost us time, but we might save some energy. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot of the decisions you got to make on the fly because you don't know how your body's responding at that point. So there's some of that included. The 36 hours, I think because we experienced 48, that the mind will make it a little easier because it's not as long, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about 48 hours. And I was like, damn, like, how are we going to be able to do this? And then doing the math, like, we got up, we stretched, we prepped our feet, we did all of our shit before the match. Then we start the match, and then the match is over and you turn into shit. You got to drive back to the hotel. You got to eat, you got to do shit. Like, the match was 48 hours, but we were awake for 54. So, I mean, you throw in a 60-hour in there, and now you're approaching that 66, 67 hours. That could be brutal, man. I don't know. How many people die? Anybody die?
I mean, people are definitely going to be taking naps.
Oh, dude. I mean, there are competitors there. God bless them. They are there to have fun, to have this experience. And those dudes be busting out tents. Like me and Fred will be fucking hiking past an area, and it's like tent city, bro. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, more power to them. For whatever reason that they're there, I'm all for it. We did not get that opportunity. I think I don't remember getting any sleep last year, unless it was like falling asleep at the picnic table or like zombie walking down the road. But the year before that,
yeah, I remember we took one like break way out at that point way in the middle of that field somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
right after that fucking
20 minutes
mountain
or 30
lion.
minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So right after the mountain lion scare, we were down on this road, and I don't know what I had to do. I had to eat or fix my feet or something. And that was a good 15 minutes where Fred was just like done. And then there was
I was so nervous that we were gonna like keep sleeping. I like, that's like, I was like, how are you gonna know to wake up? That was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
But that was the year they actually only gave you, right, there were 10 mission points, but when you got the mission card, you only got like 4 points, and you had to go find a point. And that point, if you didn't get that point, you never got the remaining mission points because they were tied to the post, right? So you got the remaining mission points from that point. So that was kind of, we didn't have that last year, right? That was a little bit of a twist too. That would if you couldn't find one, you were screwed. Like you couldn't complete the mission.
So Jeph, there's this field on that year that he's talking about where you would get this mission card and you're like, fuck yeah, it's only got 4. And then you get to the 4th one and it's got a mission card attached to it. And you're like, fuck. Right. So I remember distinctly that a lot of the points weren't that difficult to find. Like we were doing good. And then we come to one area and I'm looking at the map and there's like no contour lines because it's just, a 20-acre field with no terrain. It's just flat. And there's some shrubs and some bushes and we're standing on the edge of this thing. And I'm like, we still have a click and a half to go.
Yeah, it was paced
and it's
down
it's in the middle of this field.
Yeah.
And you're talking to like a fucking dipole that is a 1/4 inch thick, right? And it's daytime. So this is where you got to bust out that old school shit. And you're like, I'm gonna point my compass, you walk, and then we'll just keep leapfrogging. And sure enough, dude, we ran into that fucking thing. Like,
holy shit.
It worked. So yeah. With Benson, Arizona, I have found the range that the shooting's going to take place on.
Oh.
And it's right next to the BLM National Wildlife, whatever it is that we're doing the movement portion on.
Huh.
It looks
Send
worse.
me the coordinates. Oh, is it all flat?
It is all mountains.
Oh, all mountains. Okay.
I mean, the land nav will be easy, but the movements will suck. I feel it in my bones right now.
In your quads?
Yes.
Lots of uphill.
So, I mean,
well, I guess that's a good point to make, right? The more contour, the more mountainous, the easier the land nav is going to be. But
sometimes,
but physically harder it is for the movement.
Yeah. Some of the problem is like some of the mountain contours can be problematic. Like the map you get given from the race has 40-foot contour lines. So if you have a feature that's smaller than 40 feet, it's not in the map. It's just hidden. And so, if you have all these little crevices and stuff, and that was like the case with the top of Sheep Mountain in Douglas, there's all these little tiny things and you're crossing them and they're not even on the map because they're just too small. Or they're like a slight indentation in the map. And so tracking like what you're on versus like what's really in the map, if you're using the issued map, is problematic. So we tried to like make finer contour lines on our map so we can have like more detail available, basically.
Yeah.
Did you guys take their map, which has contour? You allowed to use your own map?
Yeah.
Like satellite imagery and stuff, and just lay those over the top of each other?
Yeah, you can basically generate your own maps as long as they give us the extents soon enough. So typically they do it about a month before the event, so that people have time to make their own maps if they want. And the other big thing that's really helpful about making your own maps is you can pre-check water locations, which is super important when you got to like find water on the course.
Yeah.
Trying to like determine where there's likely to be water, and you can look at satellite imagery that's recent to try to see if there actually really is water there. But it's kind of tough. Like you don't really know until you get there.
Are you guys, brings up a point, what are you guys doing for water? So you guys just filtering water? You guys got water straws?
No, like the water straws are they're not fast enough. Like you could try to use the water straws, but you can't get water through the water straw fast enough to generate enough water. It's kind of not very efficient. So we both bring pumps so that we can both simultaneously pump water into our own bladders and then fill up at a trough or cattle trough or a creek or whatever. Ideally, it's just a pump handle out in the middle of the range, just like, hey, it's got great water, we just turn the pump on. That happens. Like, there's sometimes at Douglas, there was one place that was like that. We of course had just filled up from a cattle trough with dead birds floating in the top of it, but when we found it
300 meters away, we found a fucking pump, and we're like, fuck, so we're like
good water too.
fucking pounding water and then trying to refill our shit, but that dead bird.
We had gone across, like, I don't know, was it 4 different like empty troughs before that, and we're like, okay, we got to fill up this one. It's crappy, but like, and that was a hot year. So I think talking about the time, the biggest thing is the temperature. So if it's like 100 degrees out during the daytime, it doesn't even matter if it's 24-hour. It's friggin' hot, and it's like difficult to deal with. If it's 80 degrees, and it's a long race, it doesn't matter. It's not that bad. So the heat has a big impact on your ability to complete, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and this is in October, so.
Yeah, but it's in friggin' Arizona, so who knows? Like, I mean, it could be like 100 in October in Arizona.
Or it could be fucking freezing.
Could be.
I mean,
night times.
It's gonna be November, right? Early November. And Benson, Arizona, from what I looked at, like I'm looking at it right now. I have the weather data pulled up, but I've looked at this before and it didn't seem that bad, right? Historical, like the past 4 or 5 years, it's November, the highs during the day, 73.
Cool. That's great.
But the colds at night are 35.
Holy shit, 35.
Yeah.
Okay, so much for my
I say that's gonna be a cold night.
So no, as long as you keep moving like we did last year, we'll be burning up calories.
For sure.
So them 40-degree changes in the desert, those are real.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, is like this is your past 5-year average. But what's different about this year than every other year?
A lot of rain. We've had a lot of rain.
This is an El Nino year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how does that affect the weather pattern, right? So I actually started looking. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I started looking at like, okay, when was the last El Nino? Oh, 2016. Okay. What did Benson, Arizona look like then? Because I feel like that might be a little more similar to what we're encountering. And they say that the West and the Southwest is going to get colder temperatures and more rain because of that El Nino effect.
Do you remember that friggin' storm we got slammed with in Casper?
Yeah.
I hope we don't have that again.
That was brutal.
Torrential rain and mud.
We're fucking walking down the road and just here comes this storm, dude. Like out of nowhere, just wham, just starts. Like, we're not talking just drizzle, all right? Not even rain. It was like murder rain. Okay. And it's
Sideways
just
rain.
yeah, and the wind is blowing, the rain's coming down, and we didn't think it was going to rain. We had checked the weather report. It didn't say anything about this. I left my I left my rain top in the cash bag. I was going to get it later, and he left his rain bottoms.
Pants. Yeah, we had one pair of rain gear together between us both. Yeah.
So we like hop into a ditch, dude, and we're trying to like lean against the side where the rain can't really pelt you. And he's got his fucking jacket on, and I've got my pants. And then like 30 minutes later, it's over, right? But now you're soaking.
And it was like gumbo mud too. It was like you're walking on the road turned to mud.
Oh yeah.
So it was just like your boots weighed extra like 10 pounds or whatever, or shoes did. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah.
So that's kind of the temperatures that we're getting to look into right now. So like an average year, precipitation, you're looking at almost a 3/4 inch of rain throughout the entire month of November.
Good. All right. That's
so
good news.
it's not a lot. It looks like Benson, Arizona rainy season is July and August. That's where they get the most rain at. But again, we're dealing with an El Nino issue that we haven't experienced. So
are you going to bring rain gear?
I always bring rain
cash bag.
Yeah, cash bag. Yeah. I'm still going to rock the shorts. You know, I feel like.
Oh yeah, you're probably less likely to have scrub oak down there, I think.
I feel like
there's a saguaro cactus.
Yeah, there's a lot of cactus out there.
Fuck.
And what are those choro cactuses, or what are those super sharp things? That's what I'm a little worried about nighttime.
And they will jump out at you.
Yeah, and like running into cactuses be some bad news.
He always gets fucking hit with that.
Always in my foot somewhere.
We're coming down from Sheep Mountain, and he tags one, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he like scrapes it out, and then we're walking. He's like, "Oh, we got to stop." Like,
I gotta pull it out of my toes.
We're sitting there like doing operation on his foot, trying to get this needle out because it went through the sole. Like it was rough. It was rough. Some of the other things that we've improved on, you know, aside from like trying to evaluate our strategy, is lightening our load, like what we're bringing with us, how much does it weigh, and then other things is like, this is not. I do remember when it was a tactical match, right? Where you were told if you got caught on the road, they would pick you up and they would drop you some random spot. They don't do that anymore, right? So now there's not a tactical side to it. So you're out there with a flashlight in the middle of the night trying to find these land nav points, right? And the more power that thing has got, the better off you're going to be.
Yep.
So, I mean, Fred always whips my ass in the technology department, but he comes out with like this 10 gazillion LED fucking spotlight that we can, you know, burn a hole through the moon with. And
so as a hunter that does the majority of my hunting at night, one of the things that I nerd out with are flashlights, spotlights, and battery powered versions, right? So I've got a lot of different type of headlamps that I can actually hunt with now that are so powerful and so light with such long run times, that the last probably 5 years, the technology has just exploded with what I can use. So there's some really cool shit out there with some really lightweight battery packs, long away from the days of me carrying a 6-volt truck battery in a sling with a handheld spotlight.
Yeah.
Well, the difference is you're not hiking it everywhere. So
and you need it's going to be longer nights too, right? Because it's later in the year.
It is. Oh yeah, longer nights, earlier sunsets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this picture that you sent to me. But yeah, I mean, all of that stuff is a factor. And
hey, did you check the moon phase?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't yet.
I haven't either.
That we'd have some illumination, you know, and what part of the night it's going to be. But outside of some of the adjustments we've made, I feel like last year and maybe the year before is where, and it kind of just snowball effect each year, where there was a huge focus on how can we get lighter? How can we get lighter? I mean, you took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, your rifle and ammo, from what I understand, is just sort of ridiculous.
I mean, ceramic bullets in plastic cases. Is that
no plastic cases, but definitely like they're not ceramic, they're some sort of sintered like metal or whatever. Like so they're lead free, right? Bullets.
Yeah, it's
for my pistols.
It's it's basically like pressed powdered copper.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially,
yeah. In a some sort of like resin. So that's what makes it light. They're like, I don't know, 40 grains or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really particularly light weight bullets.
Whatever it was pretty it's pretty intense, right? If you
I wish I could get in those aluminum cases, but the packs are light.
That's as far as I was willing to go, was the aluminum. So I just went out and bought a bunch of Blazer aluminum cased shit to try and save weight. The Falcor rifle, Jeph, that thing was ultra light.
That was pretty light, yeah.
Yeah.
I have since taken the 10-pound break off the front of it and put a little tinier one on there.
Perfect.
So it's available.
But for the past 4 years, I was just using a off-the-shelf REI 28-liter with a frame Osprey hiking pack, right? And I found ways to attach my rifle to it so the rifle would be centered, and I was using bungee cords and all kinds of weird shit, and like it just worked, right? But every year Fred's showing up with some crazy ass shit. So this will be the first year that we're going to be running the same pack.
Okay.
Garrett right now. But dude,
make sure your whistle's readily available.
Yes.
Here is the pack. Right?
Oh yeah, that's the prototype.
So this is the prototype. It's got a like a solid frame structure and a quick disconnect for your bag, which carries the minimum amount of shit that you need, and then your rifle fits in, against the hard plate. And I mean, and that's it.
Between the bag and the hard plate, or on the side?
Nope, between them. So behind, so in the area between that pack where those quick releases are, behind that, between those two, there's some straps to attach the rifle.
Okay, and I see some quick releases. Like I see 2 quick releases up top. One's attached, one's loose.
Yeah, and that's just because it's a prototype. So that's getting modified. So that's a little too. The top 2 straps are a little too close together in this version, so they're getting moved apart. And that was an extra strap there, an extra quick release.
And what's that hard plate out of?
It's some kind of material. I don't know if that's a secret or not.
Okay, for sure. No, absolutely. But
this is made by Attack Pack in Denver. So Alex Line's a big sponsor of the Sniper Adventure Challenge. Attack Pack's a big sponsor. They always put stuff on the table there, and this is a prototype pack that they're making for us.
That looks
we do testing for them, or I do some testing for them, and so some of the stuff sometimes makes its way into packs and sometimes doesn't. So I don't know how much of this will ever show up in the packs, but they've been very generous with making stuff for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to check it out and kind of see, every year he's showing up all Gucci and ultra lightweight, dude, like, but our goal, I think last year, with everything, not just your pack, right, but your chest rig, your pistol, your, everything.
2-pound binoculars.
Yeah. We were trying to stay in the 30-pound range. We never really quite got there. We were always both even at like 35, which isn't bad when you consider
pretty damn good
what you see other competitors rolling around with. I mean, there's some heavy dudes out there. So 35 pounds is kind of legit.
Yeah, as I've been, hiking around, I always have time to think about stuff. I think it's really a proportion of your body weight, right? So if you're a 280-pound guy, so I think 35 pounds is what, around 15 to 20% of our body weight or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe.
Yeah, probably
20%, maybe slightly over 20%.
50 pounds would be 33%.
Yeah. So I mean, if you figure out as a percentage of your body weight, I think if you're a big guy, muscular, you can carry a bigger, heavier pack, right? Just try to keep it percentage wise low on your body versus your body weight.
Yeah. I mean, I think lighter is better.
Yeah.
Organization also helps, like being
Yeah, for
able
sure.
to, find what you need when you need it, whether
Yeah.
it's money for bribery or it's the lock picking kit or it's the secret hide a
Oh, shit.
key
We
for
can't forget the lockpick kit again.
lockpick kit. So we had to do some bribing last year, Jeph, because we forgot the lockpick kit in the truck. And we get to the lockpick stage, and I'm like, fuck. Luckily, the dude let us bribe him for I believe it was, man, what did we give him? I think I gave him one of my Falcor Defense
mags.
Glock mags with the extension on it with 22 rounds inside. I'm like, this is yours if you give us 100 points. And he's like, consider it done. I'm like, perfect. Sign here, please.
It was still pandemic, post pandemic with ammo scarcity.
Yeah. So, oh, dude, it's a good time. There is this. This is what I was looking at. I wasn't sure if the prototypes would be done yet, and then I saw Mike Wax at the. What did I see him at? The Steel Safari, and he was talking about this pack, and he was using it. And so this is something that he came out with. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah, but it's a little larger than what you have kind of designed and put together. Yeah. I think it weighs an entire pound more than you. You said yours is coming in at 1.5, right?
Yeah, somewhere around under 2.
Yeah. So his is like 2 3/4 or something like that.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
look at what this competition is driving for innovation. It's such a unique challenge that you can't find a pack that can accommodate what you want right now, and you have to design it. Like, I think it's badass just to see the different stuff that comes out. And
the big problems with using the off-the-shelf packs are getting your firearms attached to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hard part. You can put hydration bladders in and you can store your stuff, but the firearms, like the pistol on the belt and the rifle in some fashion, it's just hard to connect them.
Yeah, I mean, even me, just as a casual hunter and hiker, I used to have sewing machines just so I could sew molly and make straps and stuff for my packs, because nobody really makes what you want, and I didn't really care that much about weight. I just wanted convenience. So I can't imagine there's anything even close to off the shelf that would work for you guys, much less work well competitively.
Yeah. I mean,
where you find all this fucking material. Like, you see he shows up one year with this rope and he's like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, we'll use this. It's so much lighter, because we had to have a certain amount of rope, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. What is it? And he's like, it's called Dyneema. And I'm like,
Dyneema.
Sounds fancy as fuck. What is it? And like, it's strong, it's light. I think the year after that, he shows up with, like, we have to have a tarp or a poncho that we can use, and it has to be strong enough to carry a person.
Casually.
So he's like, check this out. Boom. And I'm like, damn, that's so much lighter than my Walmart brand, like dude, the stuff that is out there, like, I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to begin to look for some of this crap. But
I think that speaks to, honestly, it speaks to just innovation as a whole. Like, if you guys aren't out doing this, nobody else is coming up with this shit, right? Like, this stuff will eventually, on a small scale, find its way to market, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it has. Hopefully. But yeah, it's cool to see it. It's cool to be a part of it for sure. Here are, let me see if I can pull this up before it changes. There we go. Oh, let me go back. Can you guys see it?
No.
Oh, shit. Hold on. I haven't shared it yet. Here we go. Okay. You can see that, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
That's not last year, is that?
That's last year.
No way, really?
Yes. This is 54 hours total of no sleep. Right? Look at that face, dog.
You look screwed up.
Dude, let me go back. Do I look
You
homeless
like
or
you
what?
lost a
You
fight.
do. I don't remember it being that bad.
There's
Maybe you shouldn't show this to us beforehand.
right. There's the one or two blisters I had.
I didn't get that. I had a couple small ones last year. It was a pretty good year for blisters.
So there's my legs. They
Oh,
weren't
yeah,
quite
man.
as
Oh.
bad as the year before, but it was a exfoliating time for my
Yeah.
skin. And it's just because I like to wear shorts. And there you can see how the competition area is lined out. That's something that we have to do ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's my good foot right there. That's my good leg. But yeah, good times.
The only thing I will say is if you do plan on wearing shorts again, which I'm sure you will, Arizona is notorious for those cactus that like to jump out and grab you, and they're little balls and they're awful. And when you get one, that plant throws the rest of them at you. So just be aware.
It might be a game time decision. I always bring pants as an option. And I've never, well, you know what? That's not true. I don't want to say never. It usually takes me 24 hours to say, fuck, I should probably put pants on. But,
just put on some pants, and then halfway through, if you're hot, just cut them into shorts.
You know, Fred doesn't have this problem because if you look at his screen right now, do you see what he's dealing with?
Yeah.
Right? He is allergic to the sun.
That's right.
So when we go out,
I do. I'm totally covered up. Yeah. But I wish I could wear shorts. I mean, it's going to be cooler, but actually not this year. 35 at nighttime. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be a little rough. I might be bundled up, you know. And I guess it depends on what our night movements look like, because there's been times where I've gotten dressed at night with you, and then we start moving and we have to go up a mountain, and it's like, okay, I got to take the shit off. Like, it's just not working for me anymore.
Oh, remember that one year we didn't have anything? I took my poncho thing. It was all like scrunched up all over me. Remember that? That wasn't talking about a homeless guy. That totally looked like it was Daimyo, so it was crackling all the time too.
Oh yeah, dude. I think it was raining.
It was oh, we got poured on. Yeah, up on that hill.
On. I had my rain gear, but he didn't.
So yeah, I left it back.
He takes his Dyneema poncho, puts it over, and you had a bungee cord around your waist.
No, I put my pack around it. Like I put it on and then put my pack around it to keep it in place. Yeah, it worked, but it friggin' was like wasn't like optimal.
I still have photos of us sitting there retaping
with our feet. Yeah,
and you're wearing that trash bag.
It was cold.
Yeah.
It was still cold. That's why.
Yeah. So have you done anything different this year? I mean, as far as like preparing, you know, the things that I can control is, you know, my performance. So I took a different attack this year. I got a trainer, and for January until July, it was just Olympic lifting and not a lot of cardio. And then basically from July until the competition starts, the workouts have transitioned to more high intensity, more cardio, more endurance. And also, like, I got on TRT, and, you know, in June, my weight was about 153. I was holding that edge where I wanted to be. And then I got on TRT in July.
What's TRT?
Testosterone replacement.
Okay.
So I got on that in July, and I just shot through the roof in terms of weight. Like, I was coming in, and, you know, one day I got scared as fuck because I was like, holy shit, I'm at 170 pounds right now. Like,
jeez.
Dude, I don't know what happened. I gained 17 pounds in like a period of 2 weeks. You know, so it was like some of it was water weight, but then like just the enhancement of the testosterone, like the muscle building, like I had to get that under control. So then it was like, okay, we're going to have to seriously look at your diet. So then my diet turned into, you know, chicken, rice, and veggies 5 times a day. Like, there's a controlled amount of protein, carbs, and calories. and this is how your life is going to suck until the competition. And it's like, oh fuck, but it's working. Like I weighed in today at 158. So
oh, you're still above me.
The weight's still coming down, you know, but it has been a painful experience because, you know, every time it's like emotional mind games, you know, like 2 days ago, I was 160 and I've been at 160 for like a week and a half. Yesterday, I weighed in at 159. Like, oh, cool. Today, I weighed in at 158 and I'm telling my trainer like, oh yeah, my weight is 158. And, oh, okay. Well, we might have to add some food back to your diet. I'm like, what are you talking about? You just
I've been trying.
You just took food away from me. Now you want to give it back. And then what? You're going to take it again later? Like, you know, before bed, I was probably for the first 5 weeks of this diet, I was allowed to have a scoop of peanut butter and yogurt. And then it got taken away from me. And like my morale just nosedived. And then I kind of got used to it. And now I don't know, dude. It's
but just think about it like this way. When you get on the race, you can eat whatever you want.
I know.
The whole race.
But that's been the other thing is, you know, like not just the physical preparation that I'm going through. One, you know, I'm not as old as you, but
as old as hell.
I'm approaching the 40-year-old mark, right? And I just want to make sure that the physical side isn't what's going to prevent us from winning, right? So I can control that, and then I focus on it. Map studies, like not necessarily of that area, but just getting back into the groove of reading those fine draws and fingers and picking up those little divots on the map that we might skip over, you know, like getting back into the mindset of reading the map's finer details. So that's been one. Analytically, trying to get an analyst to look at the scores, and you know, they kind of already looked at our routes and they're like, well, look at the route for these people. You know, these people won the match and this is what the route looks like. Here's your route. And I'm like, yeah, like we have different strategies, but why didn't, you know, the winning team make this loop? And why didn't they do this loop? Like, what did they do different? And did it save them time? And then, you know, on top of that, it's, you brought up like during the match, we can eat whatever we want. And I thought the same thing until I got told no. Like,
okay.
I kind of like stomped my feet a little bit. I'm like, I will have my motherfucking
your
pizza.
Cliff Bars.
I will have my pizza. Like, you will not take that away from me. That is
no cheeseburgers.
Yeah, mentally, that is a requirement. Like, you got to have something that you look forward to while you're out there, and that pizza
the
does
bag
it
of
for
Skittles.
Me. Yeah, cheeseburger does it for you. But going back and like, I didn't get a chance to email it to myself, but the guy who holds the world record for the fastest 24-hour race, right?
Yeah.
They went back and they looked at like, what was his time? What was his heart rate? And they're trying to calculate based off of how much oxygen you're breathing, right? So for every liter of oxygen that you take in, your body burns like 4.5 to 7 calories. So they're like, okay, over this 24-hour period, what was the amount in liters that he breathed? And then calculate his calorie output.
Oh, consumption. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it turned out to be he maintained like 7.86 miles per hour for that 24 hours.
That's
he burned
really fast.
Yeah, and he burned 21,000 calories.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at me and you, and I'm saying, okay, like we're not burning 21,000, but we do have elevated heart rates. We are breathing. We are carrying weight. We're doing different things, but our pace is a lot slower. So if we were at 50% of this guy's calorie burn, we'd still be at 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at 15,000 calories over 36 hours. How can we, I don't think you can carry or consume that much, but how can we, shorten the gap?
Definitely not in pizza.
But I don't think we need to replace. So when I was looking at this originally, the idea was replace half the calories that you need. So if you're going to burn 10,000, you're trying to replace 5,000. right? And the rest you'll make up from fat reserves. So like this book I was reading called like The Lazy Man's Guide to Ultra Marathoning or something like that. He says, you know, if you look at ketosis, so when your body goes into burning fat in endurance events, you can produce a lot of like energy from fat reserves. So almost the thinnest people still have enough fat in their body to run a full marathon.
Yeah.
And so his argument is that, you know, as long as you get your body used to being in a state of converting fat into energy rather than using glycogen stores, you don't need to constantly be filling up the glycogen stores. You just need to like take the edge off of that burn rate or whatever. So that was kind of like the way I've been looking at it in the previous years, is I don't need to replace all my calories I'm burning. I just need to like replace some portion of them and do it sort of constantly. And I think that's because we're not really sprinting either, right? We're doing a lot more slower endurance, longer term stuff.
Yeah.
So.
There are you know, you had pitched it to me last year. Another friend that works here on the island with me he's going to come and participate with his brother.
Oh, nice.
And we're talking about like how to, you know, what food. And I'm like, well, dude, I'm a pizza guy. Fred's a cheeseburger dude, but we take other stuff like Cliff Bars, fucking goo, the juice, you know, all this stuff. And I mentioned like you had this
Scratch Labs.
That stuff. This liquid that had an insane amount of calories in it, and he brought up something called ketones.
Huh. Okay.
I'm not really sure what it is yet, but apparently it's like it's a whole lot of calories packed into a drink.
Okay. Yeah.
So it sounded a lot like what you had brought up.
So last year, so Scratch Labs, every year I use Scratch Labs, and Scratch Labs is hydration stuff, but it's got calories in it. So it's actually slightly more salty. Like, so Gatorade is kind of like whatever, right? A hydration drink, but it's way more sugary than it needs to be. And Scratch Labs has a correct replacement amount of salt and sugar and electrolytes, right? So for what you're sweating out, which is the key part, is to try to replace those. But it has like some set of calories rather than if you're just drinking pure water, which doesn't have any. And so I add those calories into my calorie calculation along with the food and stuff I carry to make sure I'm getting enough calories over the time. But last year they have this thing called Super Fuel, and I drank the Super Fuel during the race, and it totally screwed up my stomach. Like it totally messed with me, and I couldn't drink this normal Scratch Labs after that. I was having a hard time like just hydrating after drinking that stuff, so I'm not bringing it again. The calories are about the same between normal Scratch Labs and Super Fuel, but the Super Fuel is a longer chain carbohydrate, so your body is supposed to tolerate it better. But whatever we do, it's way better to test it way in advance. So if you're gonna try this ketone stuff, just make sure like you're trying it in your normal training regime to make sure you can tolerate it. So that was the problem last year, is I didn't really use it that frequently in my training, and then I used it in the race and it messed me up. So I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah, I think previous years, if we're talking like 50% calorie intake of what we burn, if we're burning 10K, I don't think I was taking in 5,000 worth of calories. Like it just, from what I was eating, like, I had a pizza, right?
Yeah.
Was last year the year that we fucked up and I didn't have the pizza in the right fucking?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah. Yeah. So no, it was me. So I was sponging off your pizza, I think is what it was, right? So we had somehow put pizza in the cash bag location near the shooting area, and then we had pizza in the other one, and I brought one with me, and then we ended up never going back to the other cash bag where we had the majority of my pizza was left there. And then you had your pizza with you, and I'm like, can I have some of your pizza? And so that was that was last year that we made that mistake. Somehow we sort of arranged the division of the cash bags. We didn't manage it well enough.
So I know that this is like no electronics, no watches with GPS and all that stuff, but So then I assume you guys haven't had any like on body products that have told you over the last 7 years, 8 years, how many calories you burn every event.
Huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
We've been trying to get them to approve it because, you know, the Garmin watches have an adventure race mode where it'll shut off GPS function,
Okay.
but they haven't approved it for use in this comp yet.
Well,
So
now, but there's other on body devices that don't have GPS. Like my Whoop doesn't have GPS.
Yeah, so Whoop is one. It can't have a screen with GPS, right? So actually, it can't have GPS capability, is what the rules say. Even if it can be turned off, it can't have GPS capability. So like an i, you know, whatever, an iPod, all the modern iPods have GPS in them. So even if you turn it off, it's not usable. You can't use it as a device. So yeah, so I don't know what other on-body devices besides the Whoop don't have GPS, but
yeah, because I don't know if Fitbits do. I think that the Whoop is probably the only one without GPS.
Yeah,
and it gives I mean, obviously it's too late now, but I was just, you know, wondering why you guys don't have data for calories. But
yeah,
really up until the last few years, there hasn't been an on-body product that didn't have GPS that would give you that data.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
no on-body products. You know, we were still struggling to find a watch that would give us an accurate altitude.
Still,
right? That was something probably a few years back, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. There was a land nav point where we were in that vicinity.
That's when we got rained on.
Yeah, but we couldn't fucking find it.
Yeah.
And you know, a method that you can use, kind of like he was talking about, is like when you plot a point on the map and it's like the contour intervals are 40 feet apart, and you're like, okay, the point should be in here somewhere. What's our elevation?
Yeah.
And you know, if your watch isn't giving you an accurate elevation, because most of them are going to give you elevation based off of barometric pressure. So if barometric pressure is changing, if you got a storm front, you got, you know, anything changes, now that elevation is off, and it's like, fuck, you know. So trying to find a watch that could give us an altitude that was within 10 feet. So we could be like, hey, Fred, what's our altitude? He'd be like, oh, we're at 890. All right, cool. We got to go up another 20 feet. And we just start going up, right? Instead of messing around on an elevation plane that isn't the right one.
But I mean, what other technology exists besides barometric pressure or GPS, right?
Nothing.
So
there isn't.
You got what you got.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the problem. It's like it's really only barometric pressure. That's the only thing. And it's like plus or minus what, I don't know, 100 yards or something like that. It's like it's a really big range.
I mean, you could do some math with temperature in your head, maybe, and try to figure that out.
I didn't say we solved the problem. I said we've been trying to solve the problem, right? What was it? The Sunto, it worked decent.
Yeah, I checked them last year. Like I actually did a test with the Sunto, what's the other one? I'm trying to remember. That's the one I run every year. Casio G-Shock. It's a G-Shock. So the G-Shock and the Sunto.
The G-Shock Mud Runner, I think it is, or it's the G-Shock something runner. And that one seems to work okay. It's still not great, but
they're still not really consistently accurate. The best way to use them in this race is to, every time you're at a point, so when you found a point, you know what the altitude is, then you'd reset your watch to correct it for that elevation. So now, you know, the whatever barometric pressure changed because whatever, it's later in the day. So now you reset it. Okay, I know this is at this point because it's on the map and I know what the elevation is. Then move to your next point, and it'll hopefully, the short time between that change, there's not enough of a change in barometric pressure to screw it up. But it's really hard to be able to do that quickly enough while you're trying to also land nav. It's just,
you're trying to calibrate your watch every
point
10 times a mission or whatever. So
so
that's been a struggle, you know. Trying to implement the use of elevation into our land navigation has been a challenge. I think it's only bitten us a couple times where, you know, the one time we could have used it was probably when we were at Q Creek. It's the one time where dude, this land nav point,
Which one was that?
the one we couldn't find, the
Q
very
Creek?
last one that we were up there looking for, and we could not find it. We were at Q Creek. We were down the road from, you remember that station where you got blindfolded and you had to put the puzzle together with my instructions, and you whispered to me like, Tyler, I can see. And I'm like, well, fucking put the puzzle together then.
I don't remember that.
So it was down the road from where we did that puzzle, and we had to do the rappelling, right? So we walked down the road, and then there's kind of like a two-way curve, right? One curve goes up the mountain and one curve stays on the base. And we're like, hey, there's a point right up here. So we go up that hill.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about now. The one in the freaking middle of the field with all the people way over on the side. Yeah.
We never found this point.
No, we never found that point. Yeah.
Never found it. And like, there's an RO, Andy Reinhardt. He's down at the base of the mountain at a shooting station. And he's watching us do laps around it. Thing, and we never found it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after that, there was a hard look at like, how do we never have this happen again? Because it was painful, and we spent so much time there.
And we were right near that friggin' point. Like, I mean, it must have been in a bush or something behind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when Zach was hiding them, there was some stuff like that where you put them up in trees and all that kind of stuff, and the crack on a rock was so the end was facing you, you know. But now that Colin, I don't think has been actively hiding them. But that one felt like it was.
He had a couple where like,
in the cave. Remember the one in the cave?
We got up on top of this fucking mountain, and I'm like, all right, this is where we are. Pace count, fucking shoot the azimuth. We start walking. I'm like, this is it. It's supposed to be right fucking here. And you take 3 more steps and look down. There's a cave, and the point was
the big hole in the ground.
Cave. Yeah, big ass hole.
But you had to go in the cave to actually see the point. It wasn't visible from outside. You had to go in the hole. And then sure enough, back in the back there it was.
I wasn't going in the cave. I let Fred take that one. I didn't know what was in there. Fucking, you know, I'm a meal. I could be a snack for somebody. But it's a good time. I think we're gonna do well this year. I think it's gonna come down to strategy and, you know, how things play out for us while we're out there. Like, you know, assuming everything else goes well, the weather doesn't crush us, no injuries, and we're able to, you know, what happens, and this is kind of my fear for this year, is I told you, Jeph, every 3 years they change the location, right?
Mm-hmm.
So historically, it's been the first year at a new location.
Oh, it's super friggin' hard.
Fucking hard. Because they don't
know how to.
They don't run the course ahead of time. They just put it together and they say, people should probably be able to do this. Nobody ever does it. Yeah, nobody's ever able to do it. And then the second year, it'll be a little bit tamer. And the third year is like the perfect year. So we're in the first year at this location, and I'm concerned that there's going to be 0 finishers again.
Well, it's been how many years? Nobody finished it last year either, right? So it's what, 5 years, 6 years or something? No finishers?
So to be a finisher, Jeph, you have to complete all missions in the allotted time.
Mm-hmm.
And you must pass 16 challenges with, what is it? Is it
it's some 50? Percentage. It's some percentage of however many challenges they have. Yeah, 50%. No. Yeah, 50% or more points in the challenge. But it's like 16 out of 20 or something like that, or 16 out of 24. There's some number. So if they have more challenges, you have to complete more of them.
Yeah. But, so you can't get 1,600 points and say that you're good. You have to actually get 50 points or more on 16 different challenges, which can be hard.
Yeah.
So that's what it takes to finish. And I do believe that this is like year number 7, number 6.
It's been a long time
where nobody's finished this race, you know, in their eyes of what a finisher looks like. So yeah, but I got plenty of patches that say participant.
Yeah.
What do you think we should do different this year?
Asking me?
Yeah.
I think we got to move faster.
Move
So,
fast.
yeah, I think if I look at like the first place team from the last couple of years, they're definitely moving. They're covering more ground and getting more points than we are in terms of land nav. I mean, they're somehow also getting more challenge points, right? Whether or not I think they're doing more challenges and scoring well on the challenges they do, plus they're getting more mission points.
Yeah.
And I think consistently. So I think Jonathan and those guys are moving more quickly to be able to get more done in the same amount of time. So I don't know how we can do that. Those guys are tall, long legs, they can cover ground pretty quick, but I think they're pushing in terms of time while also making smart decisions, right?
Yeah.
Making good choices.
If you look at just land nav points and distance traveled,
yeah,
like us and team 1 weren't far off.
Total.
Yeah, we did travel further than Murph and Daniels.
Yeah, for sure.
But they beat us out on the challenges side of the house.
Yeah.
Part of that can be related to we didn't shoot, right? So that kind of sucked. But yeah, there's definitely a balance to it. And I don't think we'll make the same mistake in terms of like leaving ammo or shit like that we might need.
Yeah.
Like probably take a harder look at some of those things. It could just have been an oversight of like, oh, look, there's challenges here, but for whatever reason, it didn't register. Like the challenges were at the shooting place. We're probably shooting.
Yeah.
I
think reading, making sure when we start, we're clear about where challenges are and what times they're open, and we kind of like keep track of that while we're doing the race, and making sure we're marking down all the checkpoints available. So I know when we started last year, we only marked down like in the very first mission, we only marked down the mandatory checkpoints. We didn't put the bonus ones in. So if there was anything close to where we already were, we didn't get it because it wasn't even on the map. We couldn't say, oh, hey, this one's just like 20 feet away. We might as well get it while we're here, right? So it limited our ability to plan and take advantage of kind of easy, low-hanging fruit. So I think those things can help. So spending a little, we were like really rushing to get out of the gate in the beginning last year. So I think we were trying to get the points down and get moving, and figured we would put more points in later as we were moving.
Yeah.
But I didn't think we were under the gun to try to make the time. So we were also rushing to kind of make under that 12 hours. So if we had taken a couple minutes earlier in the beginning and put down all the points, I think we would have had be able to make a better plan, even though we were moving. So
I'm definitely
more
starting
strategy.
my ibuprofen regimen. My
there you go.
my
For anti-inflammatory.
Dude, last year was the first year I ever take it. And I was having some severe inflammation in my knees, and it was limiting how fast we could go downhill.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, have you taken Motrin? I'm like, no, I don't really take that stuff. And he's like, you should try it. And so I pop a few in, dude, and like, I don't know, 30 minutes later, I felt like amazing until it wore off. And then I was eating more of it. And then I'm like asking the doctors, like, hey, you got ibuprofen? Oh, yeah. How much have you had today? I'm like, I don't know, like 1,200. They're like, this is the last one you can take. And I'm like, all right. And then I go see the other doctor. I'm like, you got any ibuprofen? He's like, how many have you had today? I was like, not enough. Just give it, like.
I don't need a liver. It's fine.
It's only 36 hours. It'll be fine. It'll buff. Awesome, man. Well, Jeph, you got anything saved? Any questions that stem from our previous episodes?
I think if we take a look at the last years combined as a whole, and we go, what do we need to do? What do we need to change? I don't think, from the outside looking in, I just see a lot of little mistakes and maybe some time management that was the demise, not necessarily like, oh, we didn't we didn't do this hard enough, or we screwed up on this. I think there was just a lot of, we should have got these land nav points, or we left our ammo, or we were right there, should have grabbed this kind of stuff. That was the difference between first, second, or third. So I just think tightening up that portion of it is going to make a huge difference. And I think you're going to be in the best shape speed wise that you've been in any of these with the regiment you're doing. So I think to his point, speeding up a little bit, I don't think it's going to be an issue for you this year, because I think you're already prepping for that specifically. I think you guys are in a good spot. I think you guys are in a good position to, and look, it's the first year at a new place, and it's a different time frame. It's going to be the same fucking shit for everybody. So it's going to suck, but it's going to suck the same for everyone.
Yeah. So Zach every once in a while will say something like this to me: "I'm going to crush you this year in the sack." And I'm like, "Bring it on. You got to crush everybody else at the same time."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
exactly.
Everybody has the same level of crush. So, you know,
and I think that's one of the things when I asked earlier, which is like, what do you think what do you think either the challenges, or like, how does the time difference, look for you guys? I wasn't necessarily looking at like, how's it going to affect you guys as a whole? Like, your competitors, where, look, these guys are strong out of the gate, or these guys are a little slow to start. I'm looking more of like, judge yourself against like where your competitors are, difference between 36 and 48, and see where you're at there.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. I think it's going to be the same teams that we're always battling. The two winners from last year, All and his partner. Yeah, I think Murph and Daniels are doing it again, I believe. I don't know who Castro is partnered with, whether it's Mike or he found a new partner.
I think Mike's got a new partner.
Okay. So I think it's going to be the same roundabout people, right? And that's typically the same every year. It just comes down to, what are the 4 or 5 teams that are willing to push the ragged edge to get to that distance? And we'll see.
Hey, so last year we were kind of pushing it at nighttime, like the second night maybe, or the first night, second night. You were kind of like up in the speed a bunch. Do you think that's a benefit or a negative? Like, do you think that when you sort of crashed in the morning, that it was due to pushing it through the night, or do you think it was totally unrelated?
I definitely think it had something to do with that.
Okay.
Just not having experienced the 48-hour before.
Yeah.
All night we were just crushing it and like
we were cranking,
hammering it, and then it was a swift crash back down to ground zero.
No, it's an extra 12 hours.
Yeah. So I think on the 36-hour format, it's doable.
Yeah.
The hydration wasn't being restocked. The food wasn't being consumed. That whole night was just like a hammer.
Were you running scratch labs in your water? Were you running like calories in your water last year? I can't remember.
Not really calories. I was running the little tablets that you drop in there.
Okay.
And then I had a shit ton. I think this trip to REI for last year's match, those little gooey packets.
Yeah, I hate those.
And then your little shot blocks, and then the,
like the
tablets you drop in, and then there were some other like little bars. Just in those 4 items, I think I spent like $200.
Yeah.
And I mean, like every 15 minutes, I'm just trying to eat one of those. But I think it only kind of maintained that level for the first 24 hours. And then it kind of teetered off, whether I wasn't hungry or my body was just like rejecting what I want to give it. But the need wasn't there. And I think that was led up to just how horrible I felt the next day.
In your guys's electrolyte tablets and all the nutrition and stuff, the only thing I would say I could offer is one of the things that I noticed huge, and the only time I'm pretty hardcore on like electrolytes or additives to my water is when I'm fasting. And one of the big things for me is like 90% of the products out there don't have any potassium in them. So for me, it made a big difference. I use Renew and a couple others that have, I think it's like 800 milligrams or whatever of potassium. It's a pretty large amount. on top of the other sodium and stuff. So for me, it made a difference. I don't know what, Tyler has a habit of just, that looks good, and grabbing it off the shelf. So maybe something to look at.
Hey man, there's this Patagonia Provisions. You can get it at REI. It's like a little tin of mackerel with like capers and stuff in it. It's really, really tasty.
Delicious.
Yeah, but it's super high. Those fish like anchovies, sardines, and mackerel are really, really high in like potassium and magnesium. So they're really, really like way higher than bananas, for example. Like everybody's eating bananas for potassium, but the small fish are way higher. It's like really hard to get enough potassium from bananas to prevent cramping, but the fish are really good for that. So maybe I'll try to bring a tin of that. It might be kind of sucky to try to eat. I don't know.
You mean this guy right here that looks so happy to eat whatever he's eating?
Yeah.
It's actually not bad. So I take sardines are like a staple of my diet, but when I'm camping or I'm hiking, I'll empty about 3-4 tins into a Ziploc and wrap them. And they're actually pretty eat on crackers. Like if you need a vessel, you can throw them on crackers, but they do huge in obviously in omega-3s and potassium. They're way
and protein. Yeah. So like I bet they're kind of expensive, like those Patagonia Provisions, but they're really tasty.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to bring some of those. I think that'd be good.
This sounds disgusting as shit. I just want you guys to know that. Yeah, disgusting. I am looking at some of those ketone products though. Like Jeph, you were talking about potassium. Like the ketone powder has every serving, which I think is 16 ounces of water, is 1,000 milligrams of potassium.
Okay.
I mean, there's stuff there. I got a month to figure it out.
So we should push it at night then. If you because if it's shorter duration, like I think we can make up a lot of time by pushing at night, because it's especially if it's not hot. And if it's cold, it's all the more reason to do it, because we can boost the calorie output. That'll boost the heat buildup, right? So we won't be as cold.
Yeah, and if you're already cold and you're not pushing yourself, you're burning calories for no reason.
Yeah.
Because the cold is going to burn calories for you, so you might as well use it.
Yeah.
Well, we're also going to have longer nights.
Yeah.
I don't know what the time frame is going to be for the sunrise.
I got to check my headlamp battery life.
Oh, that's right, because you're running the
super ultra lightweight. Yeah,
is it rechargeable? Yeah,
it is rechargeable. Yeah.
So,
no spare batteries for it.
Are you going to stick with that?
I'm bringing 2. So I usually every year I've been bringing 2. So I have one for the first night and one for the second night. Well, this year's only one night, so at least I don't need 2 this year. But I can throw the extra in a cash bag. But they're so light. I mean, those things they're really friggin' light. I might, but the technology with headlamps, as Jeph was like mentioning, has been quite has improved a lot. So
I tell you something,
I got to go revisit it.
I tell you something that's really, it's not great for. They're not great for like anything you need a spotlight for, headlamp. They're not great for any casting a light.
Right.
But I've been using these like light bar type headlamps that are these really cool, like just LED technology. It's just sort of looks like a light bar. It's like a headband that wraps around your head.
Yeah, that's
the batteries
all
are super, super light. And it's a really different kind of experience of light. Like from 0 to 30 feet, it's like you're kind of just sitting in daylight. It's really weird. So again, if it serves your guys' purpose, maybe something to look at for not casting light, but for looking within that 20, 30, 40 feet.
Yeah, mostly it just has to cover the ground ahead of us so that as we're hiking, we don't get cactus, right? Yeah. And then if we need to search, we actually use a handheld.
Yeah, look into those. They're really cool. I use them for hunting, because when I'm trying to find a coyote that I shot in the middle of the desert, I need to be able to see like it's daylight. And they weigh nothing.
All right, so you ready for this? Oh, go ahead. So
who makes the light bars?
There's a couple different companies. The one I use is actually called Light Bar.
Okay.
It's made by Light Bar. I will send you guys a link as soon as I find the one that I use.
Okay.
So the length of day for Benson, Arizona, while we're going to be there, will be 10 hours and 50 minutes, give or take a minute each day. So
length of day. So that means
A 10
hours,
14-hour night.
13 hour and 10-minute night.
Jeez, that's a different ball game, right? I mean, I wonder what it was up in Wyoming.
Yeah, different
in
latitude
September.
up there. I'm not sure. And then for the moonrise, right?
Yeah.
We're actually making out pretty decent on the
Good.
moonrise side.
And is it waxing, waning? What's the
I gotta get rid of the damn advertisements. You know, you
Nice.
just can never get rid of these damn advertisements. Come on, you just gotta let me exit out of this shit. It won't even let me see.
I'll tell you right now. Hold on. What's the date?
November 2nd.
No, this doesn't work.
See, it's not working for you anyway.
November 2nd?
Yeah.
All right, so November 2nd.
All right, I got it.
All right.
76% on November 2nd.
Oh, that's pretty decent.
And the
We can go
moonrise is at 9:30 p.m. So it's going to be 76% for most of the night into the morning.
Go. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's 76% on the back.
It's in transit at 4:40. So it's a big moon above head all night.
Yeah.
So you remember in Casper at Q Creek, we just went with no light. It was like clear as day.
So bright outside. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah.
Keep our fingers crossed. No cloud cover.
But again, that's good or bad, right? Everybody's got the same conditions.
Yeah. But so many people wouldn't turn their lights off. Like when we were at Q Creek. Now, of course, we're advertising it on the podcast. Everybody's gonna shut their lights off. But
I mean, that was the thing. Like there'd be certain areas where you're kind of like around a bunch of teams. And I remember specifically there was a spot where we like get up on top of this mountain and I find it and I'm like, turn your light off. So we stamp our card really quick and like get out of that area. And we move to another area and kind of like start shining our light to make it look like we're looking. Like just totally trying to like veer.
You're being a dick.
No, just kidding. That's gaming it.
I mean, you know, you got to find it yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
If you weren't behind us,
don't keep following us.
It's dangerous to follow people because you don't know what the fuck they're looking for. You know, like you just got to follow. It's kind of like, you know, you're at a competition and you take somebody's win call and you're like, it didn't fucking work for me. Well, you don't know what they were doing, you know, like, follow your own path. That's my tip. And if you follow us, then probably be prepared to see my light shining in random spots.
That's on you.
So
awesome.
Are you still running the same scope this year?
Yeah.
You doing a Tremor 3? Okay.
Still gonna run the Tremor 3 with the 3 to 18 loophole.
Yeah. Same as me. Yeah.
Yep. So it's actually probably in Jeff's gray safe right there.
His entire setup's probably in there right now.
I'm going to steal it from him for a 3-day adventure.
I will put one together for you.
But yeah, well, it's been good. We've been on here about an hour and a half. I think we've covered a lot, and I'm looking forward to it, Fred. I know we got about 40 days until it's game time. So
hey, one more question. So you've been historically running like a really massive dump pouch, right?
Yeah.
For all your stuff. And you weren't running a chest rig previously, were you, or were you running a chest rig? Oh, you were running a chest rig with the dump pouch hooked to the chest rig, right?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a homeless setup, you know, but I got the Hill People Gear chest rig, and I'll keep some random cool stuff in there. And then I put my kind of, you know, dump pouches today have turned into like ultra light little floppy bags. But I have a dump pouch that I got in like 2003 before they were cool. And it just hangs from the bottom of my chest rig. And that's where I put my map, my, you know, everything I need for us to navigate quickly. So we don't have to stop and, you know, take our shit off. Like I need shit like that accessible.
Did you you remember my dump pouch from my chest rig from the previous years?
Yes, made out of
Um,
Dyneema.
Yeah, the white Dyneema one.
Yes.
So that attaches to my my shoulder straps. It's not independent, so it stays on the pack.
Yep.
Do you
Oh.
want one of those for your pack, or you want to run the same Hill People gear setup separate from your pack?
I will probably just stick with the Hill People,
Okay.
just because I do remember there was times where we
You want
had
to dump the pack, but not the rest?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and that gave me the ability to carry some shit while we were doing like a circle the wagons. Let's find this fucking point. Let's not carry
Yeah.
our shit everywhere. So, yeah. I mean, I like how it worked out. I wish
Okay.
the dump pouch would attach a little cleaner to the chest rig, but
Yeah. Okay.
kind of my own hodgepodge. I'm pulling a
Yeah.
Jeph, doing whatever works.
Whatever works.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
Just put shit together. It'll work.
Awesome. Well, fellas, I appreciate you guys' time. We had a good talk. We'll definitely have to catch up around and after the sack and talk about how it went. And, I don't think the photos will look nearly as bad as last year's.
I hope not.
We'll try to reconvene a couple weeks out before the event to see how everyone's feeling and where we're at with it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys. I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for following us. Thanks for listening to the episode. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later. See you, fellas.